I, 39 male, have been married to my wife, 32, for 4 years. We usually get along just fine. One of the issues we've had since our relationship began was our freezer. Simply put, my wife stuffs the freezer full of food constantly. There is zero space for me to put anything in there. At first, I tried to solve this by buying a fridge with an enormous freezer. I dropped nearly $4,000 on it. She interpreted this as an invitation to buy more frozen food so she could play microwave dinner Tetris with the freezer. Every single nook and cranny is stuffed full. She still buys frozen foods and somehow finds a way to fit them in. The worst part is when I buy frozen food or freeze something for meal prep, she asks me at least 3 to 4 times a day when I'm going to take it out of the freezer. She essentially nags me until I remove the food from the freezer so she can put something she won't be touching for 6 months in its place. Last weekend, I finally snapped and bought an inexpensive single-door deep freezer. I put it in the basement by the washer-dryer and put a couple of my things in it, mostly some frozen veggies and a few burritos. I didn't mention it to my wife because she wasn't home when I brought it in. When my wife got home later in the day, she went downstairs to do laundry and discovered my freezer. She excitedly ran upstairs to tell me that the upstairs one was full and she could actually fit more food in there now. I responded that under no circumstances is she to touch the freezer because it's mine. Not a single ice cube should be put in there. Then I told her not to even ask because I knew she'd mention it 3 to 4 times a day that she needs more freezer room. She sulked and tried to debate the issue, but I could placate her. A couple of days later, I went down to the basement to get something from my freezer, and there I found it, about 70% full of microwave dinners. Upon checking the freezer in the kitchen, I found that it too was still completely full. So I calmly went downstairs with a large garbage bag, threw everything in it, and then tossed it in our trash bin. Then I found a padlock lying around and locked it with a chain. Later that day, my wife brought more frozen food for the new freezer, but when she got downstairs, she noticed the lock and flipped her lid. She told me I was controlling. When I told her that there was no way she would ever use that freezer again, she threw something like a tantrum and left for her mom's house. She returned later that day and told me I had 24 hours to unlock the freezer. Nothing happened after those 24 hours, but now she's completely ignoring everything I say. I think my actions were justifiable, but was I wrong here? Not the idiot. Does your wife have some issues? Maybe a food equivalent of a hoarder? Did she grow up with food scarcity or something? I think this is something your wife might need to work on because those meals will not be eaten and eventually it'll go bad. It's a huge waste. Can you guys do a fun challenge where you try to empty the freezer? Like not buy any food until it's empty? She has faced poverty and food scarcity and has maybe created a hobby out of filling spaces with crap, even if it is edible, that won't be used. Oh man, you're in for one journey here. And next time, please donate the food instead of trashing it. Her food hoarding is now at the call a doctor level. She can always go get her own freezer and fill it to the brim with whatever. Again, ask her at what point, at how many freezers would she stop and think it's okay for you to have your own freezer space that she can't use? How many months of frozen food does she actually need? Can she tell you how long it would take to get through what she already has? You're unlikely to get rational answers to these questions, but asking them might open space in her mind where she can see, even a little, that she's being irrational and needs to deal with her issues. I actually chuckled because she's like a cute little squirrel, happily filling freezers, but you need to have a kind and gentle sit-down discussion about what's causing her compulsion and encourage her to go to therapy. Not the idiot, but be kind and understand that this is likely a problem bigger than you or she can solve alone. So I, 23 female, married my husband, 28, 2 months ago. A few months ago, he lost his job due to merging and hadn't gotten a job since, so I pay all the bills. It doesn't bother me as we live in a house I own that I inherited from my grandmother. A little backstory. I like eating in the bathtub. I had a rough childhood, and the only good memories I have are in the safety of my tub. So every now and then, I will take a bath and have a drink and a snack. It's very comforting. I know it's strange, but trauma does weird crap to you. I never leave any trash, waste, or anything in the bathroom. He doesn't remember I do it unless he walks in on me. I had a particularly rough day at work last night, so when I got home, I poured myself a glass of wine, grabbed a snack, and went to take a nice relaxing bath. My husband comes in and takes my wine and snack and tells me I can't eat in the bathroom anymore, and now that we're married, you're gonna have to change this nasty habit of yours. I laughed at him thinking he was joking, but when he started walking out, I told him he couldn't dictate what I did and to give me my stuff back because I wanted to relax. He said I won't allow this nasty habit in my home. This is where I may be the idiot, because I looked at him and said, "You're home? Let's make a deal. You can dictate where I eat when you pay all the bills." Grabbed my wine glass from him and walked away. Now he's giving me the cold shoulder and hasn't said a word to me since last night. Am I the idiot? More context. He hasn't been looking for a job. He's trying to become a Twitch streamer, so he does that all day. Yikes! He's adamant about changing you after you're married, claims the home you inherited as his home, and had no job and isn't looking. I hope you had a prenup about the house. He's bringing nothing to the table, and you know you're not the idiot. It's an unusual habit, but one that hurts no one, and he was well aware of it but waited until he thought you were trapped to object to it. I can't wrap my head around this. This is not an unusual thing to do. Bath, wine, snacks, cute trays that sit across the bathtub exist for a reason. Just saying annulment is usually allowed within a few months of a wedding. Let's talk about the fact that he wants to be a streamer. The likelihood of that becoming a source of income is almost nil, which means in 10 years, OP will still be supporting his butt, but only she'll have had enough and want a divorce. But she'll be forced to pay alimony and give him half her stuff. Stop paying the internet bill. What's he gonna do? Get a job and pay for it himself? Not the idiot OP, but he sounds like a controlling dead weight. Just watch out, OP. There are gonna be more and more instances of this behavior. Make sure you know when to call it quits. 4 years ago, my teen female, mother died at 37 years old from an accident. My brothers are 18 and a young teen now. My dad is now 40. Before my mother died, she had a massive collection of dresses. She always adored dresses, especially satin ones. My dad would show my siblings and me pictures of them from their junior and senior proms, and she was always in fantastic dresses. Her dress always stood out in photos where she's with her friends, so I started to want to wear her dresses, especially for cosplay. I asked my dad if he could, and he gave me a few to try. They were her night out dresses when she went out with her girlfriends, but it wasn't what I wanted. So I asked him if I could have her dress from their Sadie Hawkins dance junior year for a Jessica Rabbit cosplay. My dad said no because that was their first school dance together as a couple. My older brother even told me to stop asking and just find something else with the dresses my dad let me try out. But I wanted to do the Jessica Rabbit cosplay, so my dad offered to buy me a similar dress. But my mom's dress looked exactly like the Jessica Rabbit dress. Eventually, I snuck into her dresses closet at night and used it to do the cosplay. I'm a bit on the heavier side, and my mom's best friend, 41 female, always describes that my mom's body was always like a Coca-Cola bottle. So the dress was a bit tight, and there were 2 small tears. I took some pictures, and my younger brother walked in and saw me. He stared at me for a bit before he walked off. My dad came in late and asked me what I was doing. I told him I just wanted to try the dress. My dad started crying, and it woke up my older brother, and he came in. But when he came in, my dad told my brothers that they and he would leave so I could change out of the dress. So I came out of my room and gave the dress back to my dad, who was still crying. My older brother offered to take it back to the closet, and my dad let him. That's when my older brother noticed the tears, and he lost his mind. He just screamed, "You messed it up!" My dad asked what he meant, and my brother showed him. My dad was silent and walked off with the dress. My older brother told my other brother to go back to bed. My older brother proceeds to call me selfish and disrespectful. I told him it wasn't like I wore her wedding dress, which caused my brother to yell at me more. He then grabbed the dresses my dad originally allowed me to try on and walked out with them. My dad is avoiding talking about it. My brothers are both angry at me, and my mom's best friend will try to sew the tears back together. My friends are even saying I'm an idiot. I'm starting to feel bad now, but I just really wanted to try it on. Am I the idiot? Edit. My mom and dad started dating their junior year, but my dad had a massive crush on her since they were freshmen. That dress was from their first school dance together as a couple. My mom's best friend is repairing the dress at the moment. She also handed me a picture of them both from that night to make me think. You are the idiot. You may not see the problem with what you did because you have no emotional connection to that dress, but your dad did have an emotional connection to that dress, and you ignored that. You didn't care what anyone else thought on the subject. You only thought about what you wanted and completely disregarded everyone else. If I were your mother, I would be so ashamed of the self-absorbed, selfish, disrespectful person you are. Your lack of empathy, compassion, and awareness is actually concerning. Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought it was going to be about when reading the beginning. But come on, girl. Destroying your late mom's clothing for a Jessica Rabbit's cosplay? Not even a nice occasion like dressing up in your mother's clothes for memory's sake, to reminisce and share a nice moment with the rest of the family. Get your head out of your butt. You are the idiot 100%. I told him it's not like I wore her wedding dress. Do you realize that dress was their first school dance together is also important? It may even be equal to her wedding dress. Your father's probably already so distraught about losing his wife, his high school sweetheart, and you just disrespected him by ruining a very important dress over a cosplay. It's awful. I'm glad your little brother let your dad know and that your older brother told you that was wrong. Also, I'm glad to hear your mother's best friend is fixing the dress, and bless her heart, because I bet it has to be painful to sew your deceased best friend's dress. I'm a 24-year-old woman and have a stepmother who recently turned 50. My parents divorced when I was 5, and my dad remarried when I was 8. So I've known my stepmother for a long time, and I rather like her. She's the mother of my younger half-siblings, so getting along with her is good. I lived with my mom growing up, but still saw my dad a lot, and by proxy I saw her. For my mom's 50th birthday, I paid for the two of us to stay at a really nice hotel for the weekend and have a girly pampering time. It was a great, memorable time for the two of us. I got invited to the party for my stepmother's 50th, and I know she feels the cold easily, so I made her a crochet blanket in her favorite colors, purple and gray. It's the size of a queen bed, so she can easily have it on their bed. She liked it, but seemed confused there wasn't more, and asked if I had something else planned. I was confused and asked what she meant, and she brought up how I'd done a whole weekend thing for my mom, and surely this blanket wasn't all that I had planned for her, right? The party got a bit awkward at that, and I told her I'd done more as that was my mom, and I'd also spent months working on this blanket for her, so it wasn't a simple thing. She got upset when I stressed the difference being that my mom was my mom, so of course she received a different category of gift. My dad felt I was being rude and not treating her fairly. Now I like her, but she didn't raise me. Had my father been raising me, I could see why she'd be upset over this. But he only had me every other weekend, and the occasional summer and Christmas. My dad then tried to say I should take her out to make it more even. I got upset with this and said no, that I couldn't afford that because of the money I'd spent on wool. And besides, I felt my gift was plenty thoughtful. I ended up leaving the party not long after this. My dad is upset with me, thinking I did this on purpose to upset her and ruin her day. I honestly thought I'd done something nice for her birthday. Is it wrong that I'd planned different kinds of gifts for her? Not the idiot. You spent months making her a beautiful and thoughtful gift, and she's mad at that? What? You didn't spend enough? That your mom got something more? You are not the idiot. Your stepmom is super entitled, and your dad should be ashamed for backing her up. I don't know if it'll do any good or worth the breath used, but if you've been crocheting for a while, She must know how time-consuming it is. Knowing the time and care it takes to crochet a queen-size blanket should have made her feel honored, not slighted. For months you worked on this for her, so a lot of thought and planning goes into a project like that. You thought of something that would comfort her, keep her warm. You picked her favorite colors, and spent so many hours over a long period working on something for her. How close could the two of you possibly be if she can't recognize that? Honey, I'm so sorry for you. A gift like that is a literal labor of love and deserves to be cherished and appreciated. My tween daughter recently got money for her birthday, given by her stepmom. She's been talking a lot about a show called Hamilton recently. So when we passed a bookstore, I asked if she wanted anything. She said no, as she didn't really have any books in mind. So I asked if the show she was talking about, Hamilton, had a book. She didn't know, so after some research, we went to see if the shop had it. It turns out it didn't, but the woman at the front desk said it was being restocked in 3 to 4 weeks. So I asked my daughter if she was fine with waiting or wanted a different book, as I saw Percy Jackson on sale and heard it was similar to Harry Potter. She said she could wait, so I asked how expensive the book was, and it was expensive. It would use up all her birthday money if we bought it, but she said it was fine. Instead, I told her to wait until November, when her aunt was returning from Britain, but she said she didn't want to wait and was fine with using her money, and she didn't want to buy anything else. But to be honest, I wasn't fine with it. Since it's so expensive, it's probably really thick. And I don't want to spend all her birthday money on a book she'll probably only spend 1 week reading, because she can read a 400-page story in 3 days' time. After we left the bookstore, I told her this, and she said okay, but hasn't been talking to me much except asking when meals are ready. I honestly feel like I'm not the idiot, as I don't want her to waste her birthday money. And besides, her aunt can give her the book in a few months, as she's a little wealthy and enjoys spoiling the kids in the family. So do you people think I'm in the wrong? Edit. I forgot to say we can't watch the play, as I currently can't afford Disney Plus, and even if we could, my daughter would still want the book. You are the idiot. It's a book, for God's sake, and it's the daughter's birthday money. Way to let your daughter know her birthday isn't about her, OP. You are the idiot. You don't want her to have a thick, pricey book because she'll read it fast? It's not a waste of money if she gets enjoyment from it. I have books that I've read numerous times. Books aren't a one-and-done thing. Well, some books are, sure, but even so, it's her birthday. It's her birthday money. You asked. She answered. It seems to me like the OP, who doesn't like reading herself, feels inadequate because she can't read 400-plus pages in 3 days. It's a bloody book. Whether she can read or enjoys it herself, she should encourage her to read.